All right. Alrighty. All right, so greetings everyone. So welcome to this presentation on youth violence and mental health. So the Zoom meeting helps fulfill some of the requirements for my master's in public health program. So I am happy to have you all here. And as you guys all know, this is being recorded. All right, here we go. All right, so just a quick knowledge check. Feel free to just speak out if you believe you know the answer. But how would you define youth violence? Anybody?
Unacceptable, inappropriate.
Okay, and something inappropriate. All right. Anybody else?
Neglect.
Neglect. Okay.
Should never happen.
Okay. All right, so we'll come to the definition in a bit. Would you be able to identify violent behavior in your child or a young person in your life?
I would say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. So let's move on. So the definition of youth violence is the intentional use of physical force or power to threaten or harm others by young people ages 10 to 24. All right. So that's the typical definition as for what youth violence is considered. The following slide will be the forms of youth violence, and they can vary from bullying, physical aggression, fighting, using a weapon, cruelty to animals, setting fires, destruction of property, or vandalism. So it can vary from, there's many forms of it. And then as you can see, I'm sure some of these are very popular in media or on newspapers or what have you. All right, so how common is it? So about 1 in 5 high school students report being bullied on school property. Homicide is the 3rd leading cause of death for young people in the United States. 13 young people per day are victims of homicide, and 1,100 are treated in emergency rooms for non-fatal assault-related injuries. So wow. Common is another way to say the prevalence of youth violence in the United States. All right, so the impact is great, especially with the healthcare costs. About $20 billion is spent annually in medical and lost productivity costs. And lost productivity would be whether it's from the youth missing work or from parents missing work. And this does not include the criminal justice system, psychological, or the social costs. As well, it also decreases property value. People don't want to live in a neighborhood where youth violence is great. It disrupts social services, the perceived and actual safety. So you might think it's safe to go outside, but in reality, it's probably not because there's shootings going on, teens fighting each other, vandalism going on. School attendance decreases when there's school violence at a school. And it also strains the community resources, whether it's with the police, medical services, youth programs, it strains those resources. Okay, so this graph here, it kind of just, it's a good explanation of how it impacts our youth. So yellow is the greatest or the large number of types of violence youth face. So it says 3 or more types of violence, and then the percentage. So I think that the highlights here would be suicidal thoughts or behavior. You can see there about 70% who experience 3 or more types of violence had a greater increase in attempting suicide or thinking about it, as well as risky behaviors such as tobacco use, binge drinking, sexual activity with multiple people, and then the other categories there. All right, so we'll play a little game of wits and wagers to keep everybody logged on here. All right, so wits and wagers is a interactive game that we can play. So you can either open up your chat box, or you can just yell out what you believe the answer will be. All right, so when I say go, you'll either type your answer in the chat box, but the key is your answer cannot go above the number that the actual answer is. All right, everybody kind of understand what the rules are. So you'll give your answer. So let's say if the answer is 100 and you say 101, you went over. So you don't win, but if you said 99, you were the closest, so you won. All right, so we'll go ahead. Try to get your chat box open if you can. All right, so youth violence results in about how many medically treated physical injuries each year in the United States? So go ahead and get your answers in the chat box. When I say go, you can go ahead and hit enter. What you think it would be. All right, 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, we've got 100,000. Okay, that's a pretty good guess.
What did you say the question was again? Sorry.
Youth violence results in about how many medically treated physical injuries each year in the United States? Okay, 500,000, like, oh, 50,000, okay.
Say 75,000.
75, okay.
I'll say 200,000.
200, okay. Any other guesses before I go on to the answer?
250,000.
Okay, pretty good guesses, all right. So the answer will be about 500,000 medically treated injuries each year among the youth. So pretty serious. All right, next question. What percentage of youth homicides are from the result of firearm violence? All right. 1, 2, 3, go. Go ahead and type your answers, what you think, or say it.
I'll say 100,000.
100,000, okay. We got 1 million.
You said percentage or numbers?
Percentage, yes.
Sorry, I can't read. I'm still trying to get the hang of this.
No, you're good, you're good.
I would say 75%.
75, okay. We've got 90%, 30%. 78%, okay. All right, so let's see what the answer is. We got 86%. So it looks like Kalel would be the closest. The 78 pulled the prices right there, okay. I believe we got one more, okay. So how many students miss school every day for fear of being attacked or intimidated? So go ahead and type your answers. This is not a percentage now, so. $100,000. And again, this is in the US, not worldwide.
I would say probably about 4,000.
4,000, okay. 175, 150, 100,000. All right, let's see what we got here. 160,000. So it looks like Henrietta got got closest without going over. All right. All right, just a little trick we use to keep everybody engaged. All right, so back to the information here. All right, so youth violence and COVID-19. All right, so obviously one of the few benefits of the pandemic was bullying decreased, whether it was in person, obviously because a lot of us were stuck at home, but also online, it decreased. But the downside is the rates are expected to increase now that we're kind of moving back towards a normal way of life. Kids that were between 13 and 17 reported more arguments at home though, and that's because the pandemic created tension. You know, we're stuck at home facing each other day in and day out, almost 24 hours a day. So that created tension, whether it was between the kids and the parents or between the parents. So the kids were either seeing the tension or seeing the arguments, or they were actually involved with the arguments. All right. So some of the risk factors. So in public health, we discussed the socio-ecological levels that impact a person engaging in unhealthy behaviors. So here are some of the risk factors for each level. So the levels range from individual, the family, social, and then community. So an individual, some of the risk factors for youth violence are having a history of violence or being exposed to it, having learning disorders, or substance abuse. So family, having parents that aren't involved in their life, parents that are using substances or having just a poor family function. Social, being involved in gangs, performing poorly at school, or just not being committed with school, and then not being involved in any extracurricular activities. And then the community, looks like it went next there, sorry. Community is a low community involvement, or just a community that's not organized or disorganized. All right, so youth violence and mental health. So most people would think that mental health disorders would increase the chance of a youth being more likely to commit violence in the community or at home, but it's actually the opposite. There's a slight increase, but it's not as major as most people or the media would make you believe. The actual major increase is when they're using substances. So whether they're on drugs, alcohol, addicted to tobacco at a young age. The only downside is when there's a combination. So if somebody's dealing with anxiety, ADHD, stress, and using substances, their chance of being violent increases significantly. So individuals with mental health issues are more likely to be victims, though. So they're not more likely to perpetrate, but they're more likely to be the victim of violence. And then parents with mental health issues increase a child's risk. And if we go back to the other slide of the risk factors, not being organized at home, or if a parent is dealing with stress and anxiety, they're not going to be involved with their child's life. So that child will be left at his own device. All right, and then youth that are exposed to violence, whether they are victims or the witness of it, have a higher risk of post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD, major depressive episodes, and using substances. And then as well, they're more likely to commit suicide, which is the leading cause of death of children under the age of 14. All right, so how can you prevent youth violence? I think that's probably the key to why most people are here, to understand youth violence and how they can prevent it, whether it's in their community, whether it's a small community, kids on your street, or if you're more involved in a youth program, how can you prevent it from happening in your community? So the key is prevention takes a village, right? So I think we used to be at the point where we were a community, we had that community mindset, but we moved away from that. And now we have this individual mindset where I only care about myself, I only care about the people in my household. So what we need to do is we need to start moving away from that. And it's okay to care about the kid across the street. What is he up to? Maybe he doesn't have a big brother or an adult figure they can look up to. So we need to move away from the individual and become a community. And you need to also try to maintain and build better relationships, whether it's with the kids at your home, your nieces, nephews, grandchildren, or even your own children. You need to either maintain, if it's a good relationship, maintain it. And if it's not, try to build it to become a better relationship. You need to also try to improve the environment. So if there's trash on the ground, kids don't want to be hanging out outside if there's just filth all over the place, or if there's no place to hang out that's green, or if there's graffiti on the wall. It's just having, when you're in a ghetto, I guess you would say, mindset, or if the environment looks in shambles, they're going to feel like they need to live in the environment they see. So we need to try to build better environments for our kids. And as cliche as this may sound, vote. We need to get out there and vote, because it matters, whether it's locally, state, or nationally. You need to make a vote for something that you care about. If it's going to create more parks at in your community or in your state or city, vote for it. And if we're gun owners out there, we need to make sure the availability of our guns isn't so easy for our kids. Yes, kids absorb everything. They're looking at you while you're punching in your code. So they know where the guns are at, even though you might hide it. You might think it's in a good hiding spot. They know where the guns are at. So we need to be able to reduce the gun availability to them. And counseling, it's okay to go to counseling, whether it's family counseling or getting counseling for our kids. we need to remove that stigma between mental health and getting our kids the help they need. Because as much as we might say we understand our kids, as the great old Fresh Prince once said, parents just don't understand, So, as times change, and we gotta be able to change with them. All right. So what you can do so you can become more involved in their daily life. Becoming more involved in their daily life is key. So you know what they're doing for homework, know who their friends are, know who they're hanging out with outside of school, inside of school, know what programs they're part of. It's key to know about their lives. And they might think mom is just being annoying, dad or uncle or brother is being annoying, but at the end of the day, you're looking out for them in the long run. Help strengthen their youth skills, whether it's becoming better people, yes ma'am, no ma'am, writing, speaking, just the basic skills is key to helping them not only now, but in the long run. Encourage positive media. We already know there's a lot of media out there, such as YouTube, Facebook, there's a lot of negativity coming in. We got to try to enforce the positive. Talk to teens about experiences with violence. We half the time we don't even know if the kids in our lives are experiencing any type of violence in their life. So if we can understand what they're going through, their health, this is key. So if you're understanding that, hey, maybe they're being bullied, a lot of kids aren't speaking about bullying. Me as a substitute teacher, I've experienced bullying, and a lot of these kids are thankfully open to telling their parents. So parents are calling school like, hey, why is this kid bullying my kid? So if you're talking to them and they're not having to come to you, you're kind of meeting them halfway. You're canceling out the middleman. So it's key to understand them, and then also just be open about their health. I guess it's because they don't know. Most of them don't know. So or a key thing here also is developing teen mentoring programs. There's a lot of teen mentoring programs that are already available, such as Big Brother, Big Sister. But if there's not one available in your city, town, try to make one. Become, like I said, like not only voting, but try to become a part of your community, building that community, strengthening it, which also leads into volunteering. So a lot of us can use some volunteering on our resumes. But while doing that, we can also be making a change for the people we care about. And then also empower the youth to be a part of the solution. So yes, we might feel like we might have to protect our youth. We might feel like we have to protect them, but they need to realize that they are also a key to making a change that each city, town, and our nation needs. So once we can make them part of the solution, 20 years down the line, they could be making these same presentations with even more information, new information that can help reduce the amount of homicides that occur amongst the youth, the amount of suicides, the amount of bullying. All right, so let's go over some case studies here, some things I developed. So here's a scenario. So feel free to speak out yes or no, okay, for the answer. So we have Jess here. She recently moved to a new town as the new girl in her high school. She struggles with bouts of depression and anxiety. When she has a bad day, she is comfortable talking about her day to her parents. She has good grades and hopes to go to college one day, but she is not involved in any school clubs, is just likely to be or become a violent youth. Feel free to say yes or no. What do you think?
I would say no.
Okay. You have a reason for that, or?
Well, because it says that she struggles with depression and anxiety, but she's able to talk to her parent about it.
Good catch. Okay.
So that way she can release whatever she's holding inside.
Correct. So yes, she's definitely not at risk for becoming a violent youth. So perfect answer. I couldn't have said it better. All right, so let's see for scenario 2 here. All right, good old Billy has missed many days of school this year, and his grades have went from a B average to mostly D's. He also has a fear of coming home because his parents have been arguing constantly ever since the pandemic started. At one point, he was found out back shooting his BB gun at birds and the neighbor's dogs. Is Billy at risk of committing violence to his classmates in the near future?
I say yes,
Yes.
definitely.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So if you remember all the risk factors back, vandalizing, harming animals, he does that. His school has dropped. His school attendance has dropped, and it seems like his home is not stable. So yes, correct. Yes, he was definitely at risk for becoming a violent youth and potentially harming a fellow student. All right. So feel free to speak out here. Do you feel confident being able to identify violent behavior in your child? I know most people said yes. Hopefully it continues to be a yes. What do you guys think?
I think so. Absolutely.
Yes.
Change at all.
Awesome. And do you feel comfortable for preventing it now, like becoming a part of your community, making a change? Do you feel like you can make the steps towards making a change?
Absolutely, because now it seems like the conversation gets way easier from here on out now. Know what to ask, who to go to.
All right. Anybody else?
I would say yes, more involvement with the adults, with the children. They can see a good example if you're willing to put that step forward and help throughout your community.
So it's all about just.
It starts with the person too. So if you are a parent, it all starts with the parent because, as you said earlier, the kid absorbs everything in the household. So
Yeah, and also you don't even have to be a parent, so whether you're an uncle or, don't have kids, and you care about the youth, because at the end of the day, the youth will be carrying this nation, we're all going to be old one day, and we got to hope that our kids aren't wanting to go to war instantly, rather use our words than, lead to resort to violence or just saving some lives at the end of the day. A lot of us live in some cities or from cities, just all about just trying to make the change that we can, or becoming an influence that we might not have had as kids that were 10 to 24 years old. They're still kids. So all right. So
Hi, Jay.
hey, hello, how's it going?
Hi, it's Marlo.
Hello, Marlo. How are you?
I love your present. Hi, I'm good, thank you. I appreciate the presentation, and everything you're saying is just so true for our young, down all the way from birth, to adulthood.
Correct.
It does really take a village to raise a child, so everybody needs to be involved, and that's the only way that our communities will start to change.
Correct. Yeah, we got to get
So
out of
we
that
have
individual
that
mindset.
different kind of mindset. Yeah.
Right. And while making this presentation, I did have the Navajo reservation in mind, and as well as the city of Worcester in mind. So the city, which is not community or does not have the community mindset, but then versus the reservation, which kind of does, but lacks the resources, or maybe lacks the volunteers. So it's kind of I kind of tried to combine both together in this presentation to hopefully make a change at both. And then again, this if anybody wants, I will be sharing this as well. But let me go to the next slide here. Here are some resources you can go to. So the National Centers of Excellence in Youth Violence Prevention is a great source to kind of get either it's just the statistics or programs you can use, as well as striving to reduce youth violence everywhere, which is STRIVE is the acronym. Key website, stopbullying.gov is a great one. Many statistics and things you can do as a parent, a community leader, or a teacher, or whatever your your title would be. Great resources there. Children's Safety Network and youth.gov. All of these are great resources you can use to hopefully make a change, whether it's as small as the kids on your street or as big as the whole city or state. Whatever you strive for. I think as long as you can impact one child, I think that's better than no child at all. And that concludes it. It was a really straightforward presentation. If you would mind, I'm gonna put in the chat here let me stop sharing. I'm going to put in the chat a survey you can use just to kind of see what you thought about me, what I can do, if I can do better, hopefully. If you learned anything. Let's see, there you go. So there's the survey, quick 9-question survey. And then for those of you that came a little late, I will be doing this again next week, probably the same time. And that's it. Let me stop recording just so we can be ourselves for a minute. All right.